Hey, comic book fans, new comic book fans, this is your boy, The Rage, coming at you with Comic Book Release Wednesday, 11/19. Today I'm going to talk to you about new comics that came out today. Every single Wednesday, Marvel will release new comics coming out. What would be a good read, what would be an investment. I'm going to talk to you about the ins and outs of comic book buying, what to look for, when to buy, and all the ins and outs of the actual comic book in itself for purchasing purposes, and get you on the right track if you're just starting out and you're interested in the comic book, how to get into it, go about it. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is about getting into the comic. Say you're interested in getting into the comic, you don't really know where to start. Well, the first place you start is a comic book shop, right? You go to a comic book shop, you may feel out of your realm a little bit. Maybe you're very interested in doing it, but you've never read one, or maybe you read some when you were a kid and you're reintroduced into it now, as it's become a very popular thing lately because of all the movies and entertainment value. One thing I will say, to interrupt and sidetrack, is most of the comics, or most comic-related items, are a direct reflection of its entertainment value, especially its new entertainment value. Comics will gain an increase in value or notoriety or popularity, if you will, for what is happening entertainment-wise in the world. And a prime example of this is the Marvel movies. The Marvel movies have made comics so much more valuable, it is insane. If a movie was dropped, for instance, Captain America Winter Soldier, when that movie was first dropped by Marvel saying, we are going to introduce a new movie, and it will be out in a few years. They break ground on it. We're doing Marvel Winter Soldier, Captain America. Winter Soldier comic, where he first appeared, went through the roof astronomically. I mean, overnight, when they released that they were doing that movie, that comic went from cover price of $3.99 through the roof. So that's sort of a little thing that you want to keep in the back of your mind. Because if you're going into the investment standpoint of the comic, you're going to want to stay in tune with the news on Marvel's website and various websites, much like mine, that will tell you certain aspects that are happening in the future. Because everything in the investment part of the comic industry is very future and entertainment related, like I said. So there may be something that indicates in the future of a character getting their own comic for the first time. You want to key in on that. Because when that drops at the shop, you want to go pick that up. You want to invest in that comic. Most comics that are $3.99. There's different type of comics, however. There's variant copies, there's rare variant copies, and those are all different aspects of comic book covers. So the main key in this whole thing is, you start off, you want to read these comics, you go to the store, you sort of feel out of your place, like I stated before. Sort of you got that feeling of going to the gym for the first time. You see a whole bunch of muscular up men or some fit girls. You feel sort of intimidated, but you want to get into it. You're interested. You want to do it. You want to get into it. So to break that shell, I'm going to give you a few pointers that most people don't know, that's not told to them. They'll go into the shop. They'll just pick up a comic here and there. They'll read the comic. There'll be little tidbits in the comic that they'll mention things from a previous issue and stuff that'll be geared towards the next issue. So you'll pick up a comic in the middle and say you're on the new Spider-Man, you're on number 10. Say you go to the comic, you pick up number 10, you read it, but you didn't know what happened from 1 through 9. That's not the way to read comics. You can read the comic, absolutely, read what's in there. There's always new stuff in there that will be geared towards that comic itself. And like I said, there'll be stuff that happened from before that's linked to that next comic and stuff going to the next. So you really want to try to get on the beginning of any interesting comic that you're interested in. So I'm interested in Moon Knight, is my favorite character. So regardless of the collectible value or the investment of a certain Moon Knight comic, I'm going to get it to read it regardless, because I'm interested in the story. I'm always interested in what's going on with Moon Knight. So I will get that regardless of its value, investment, or any of those things. But there are areas of investment, like I said, that you should key in on. Be tuned in with the news. And going over today, being Comic Book Release Wednesday, I've got one comic that I think you should invest in. It's a good investment. Now, not every week there'll be an investment comic. Every single week there's different comics that come out as they're on a rotation scale. Some comics, some titles, I should say, are released every other Wednesday. Some are released once a month, or some are what they call one-shots. A one-shot means it's only a single comic, single story, and that's it. It's basically like it's a little mini story that begins, goes to its main story, and ends all in one comic. And those one-shots hold collectible value no different than any series does. But the big valued comics are usually first appearances and first volume 1, number 1s for a particular character. Prime example, if you've got Spider-Woman, say, that you're interested in, she has the first time she's ever been in a comic, and then her own first solo. Those two should hold the large majority of Spider-Woman values should be in those two comics. Now, there are rare exceptions. There's number 1s for different volumes. There's variants, like I suggested earlier, special covers, which I'll go into details on when going to select that comic, what to look for, that hold a little bit higher value than, say, maybe that Spider-Woman number 1, because there's maybe a rarity involved in it. So going to that comic cover, you're looking. You see a comic that's coming out, and I'm going to give you a little tidbit on that investment. Today, Spider-Woman number 1, volume 5. It's a brand new reboot. So it's a new Spider-Woman series. But what's special and different about this between any other of the volumes is there's a new character called Silk. Silk seems to be a spider-style woman, another type of spider-styled superheroine. So she was first appeared in the new reboot from Amazing Spider-Man number 1 that they rebooted at the beginning of this year. She appeared in that, and now she's on the cover of Spider-Man 1 and is going to be a soloed character in the near future, as Marvel suggested on their website a few days back, that she will sometime in the near future, possibly spring, get her own series. So that's a big thing there. So when a character gets their own series, especially for the first time, and you have their first appearance or first appearances, those hold a lot of value because there's a new entertainment value, like I suggested earlier. There's a new entertainment value in that character. People are picking up and reading it. They become interested, and they want to know where she started. If she did not start in that number 1, they want to know how she started. So they want to get that Amazing Spider-Man number 1. They want to get that Spider-Woman number 1, because those are her beginning roots. Those are her collectible valued comics. So when you go to this comic store, you look at these comics, you'll see the normal print, you'll see variant prints. Now, a normal print, just for sheer easy numbers, let's just say they do Spider-Woman number 1, they'll have a basic cover. Whatever their normal cover art is, let's say they do 10,000 copies. They'll print off 10,000 copies, they'll send them to the stores, and they'll have those on the shelves. Then they'll do a separate printing for variants. Variants are the same exact comic on the inside, all the same pages, the same exact story. The only difference is they actually change the cover art. They do a different cover. So Marvel will contract a certain artist to do a specific style cover. So it has a different cover on it, it's different value, and it's going to be different valued because they are more limited. So usually in the variants, there's different levels of variants. There's 1 in 25, 1 in 50, 1 in 75, and so on. And sometimes there's even 1 per store. 1 in 25 means exactly that. For every 25 of the regular printed comics, they print off 1 of that specific variant. So in a comic store, you'll go in, they may have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them. They won't have an abundant amount of that variant. And they'll have different variants. Some comics will come out and there's only 1 variant cover. Some they will have 4 or 5 variant covers, especially first issues. They've been doing this for the past several years, especially of the past 2 years. They've been putting out multiple variants for number 1s. So Spider-Woman that I know of right now has 3-4 variants that's coming out. One of the variants is so highly valued, it is going on eBay for $99. People are buying these things like hotcakes, pre-buying them for what is coming out today. So this variant has gained so much attention because it is the most risque shot of Spider-Woman and a female, or on a comic for that matter, that it has gained so much notoriety, people want it. It's gained entertainment value. And which entertainment value gains popularity, which gains value. So when all those things are intertwined, you've got an investment. And this cover was so risque that the comic industry didn't want them to print that. It's basically the cover is Spider-Woman. She's crawling on the page. And how it originally came out shows her entire butt is spread open, crawling in the flexing position. And it appears she's wearing a suit that is so skin tight, it almost looks as if her body is painted. You can't even tell she's wearing a suit. It's got her colors and everything, and it's a suit. But it almost looks as if it is body painted. So, of course, this is going to be extremely risque cover for Marvel. They decided to print it anyways, and they put the Spider-Woman title logo over where her crack separates her buttocks. So they sort of edged it out a little bit, but it's still a very risque cover. So this has gained, like I said, so much entertainment and popularity because of it. It's going through the roof. Now, the different level of variants cost different prices. So you may have a 1 in 25 can be anywhere $6 to $8. A 1 in 50 can be anywhere from $8 to $10 or $12, and a 1 to 75 or higher can be anywhere from $15 to $25, $30. Just depends. Depends on the value based on the demand. And this comic and this variant is, I believe, a 1 in 50 if I could recall. And it has gained so much popularity that they're going for $100 plus on eBay. People are bidding these things out of control because this is a change. This is something that is big, something that is a big change in the Marvel Universe. And that's another key thing when collecting comics is getting in on something that is a big change or an alter in the universe is something that will hold collectible value. Events are awesome to collect. Events always keep their values. Those are changes that happen in the universe or big events that will change something or alter a path. So these are things that you may want to consider when you're going into a comic shop for collectible value. So there are some great reads that have come out this month I'm going to touch in on that I haven't touched on in the past few weeks. The new Thor title. The new Thor title is awesome. I've got it. I've read it. I've read Thor 1 and 2. Thor 3 will drop on December 3rd as they're spaced 2 weeks apart. So every single Wednesday, like I said, new comics come out. So you're going to want to go to Marvel's website, go to their comic release calendar, and on their comic release calendar, it'll tell you can choose a monthly or you can choose a weekly scenario of what's coming out. Like I said, most comics come out every other week. Some titles come out once a month. You just find out what you're interested in. Look on there weekly. Usually I go on Wednesday, and I'll look on there and see if there's anything that I think is a good investment or something that is a new start that maybe I want to read that's, different than what I'm already currently reading. And if there's nothing really necessarily that I'm interested in, then hey, no problem. I go to the next week, I'll look, see what's up for the next week. And then I'll go up a couple of months, look on there, see what's coming out in a couple months. Usually they won't release everything that comes out. They'll release a few here and there. But as the week progresses towards the next month, they'll start uploading more and more images and information on the new comic that's coming out. So right now is a good time to get into comics. If you're interested, get something that you're interested in reading first. You don't want to get something you're not really interested in. It'll kill the vibe. You won't want to collect the comic. And like I said, if you're interested in the investment standpoint of it, you sort of got to be like a Marvel Comics stockbroker. You got to check that Marvel's website every day, see what news is changing, because, like I said, the news will directly reflect everything when it comes to investment. They may say, you know what, we're going to do a Moon Knight movie. It's going to start 2017. We're already going to break ground on it. Immediately, Moon Knight's his first ever comic is going to go through the roof. His main solo comic is going to go through the roof. All his first appearances are going to go through the roof. So that's just something like you can get on early. Usually you got about 1 or 2 days from when that drops to get in before comic shops see this themselves. And then they'll go, okay, they'll see that there's an increase in value. The value will reflect, especially on eBay, that the supply, people are buying it now. Because why? Because it's a new entertainment value. It's a new popularity. It's a new thing. And that, in the comic book world, for resale and investment is very, very key. So keeping up with that is the main thing. And like I said, pick something you're interested in. You'll have fun reading it. And until next Wednesday, The Rage, checking out. And good luck at your comic shop today.